What are the real facts of extraterrestrials? Where do they come from? Who are they? What are they? Humans have been asking these questions for thousands of years. Well, today we have on the show UFO researcher, award-winning conference producer, and intuitive Vedic astrologer, Serena Wright Taylor. We're going to talk about walk-ins, hybrids, extraplanetary visitors, and yes, we are part of the cosmic family. So let's get started. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Please welcome back to Truth Be Told Studios, the one and only Serena Wright Taylor. Hey, Serena.
Hello, Tony. Great to be back.
It's been a while, and but we save some of our favorites to come back at a later time. So I'm glad you're here, and for everybody out there that doesn't know that coming up, I thought it was like, God, it feels like February should be months away, but February was here, and Conscious Life Expo is coming up on the 19th through the 21st, and you're going to be leading a panel. First of all, let's start with that, and then let's get into the nitty-gritty of some of the facts about what you're going to be discussing, and then some of your background.
Yes. Actually, this is all online now. Right up until almost the last minute, we were thinking that some of it might take place at the Hilton, but no, it can't. So we suddenly went all online with a great Hollywood TV producer doing the live show.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's all live. And that's it's so exciting. So everyone can feel like they're there with us because it'll be a live show. The section that I am hosting is called Extraterrestrials, the Real Facts. I'm just looking to the side so I can look at it too, to remind everyone the time. But of course, the time is different depending on where you are, because this is going all over the world.
Right.
It's even going to be in South Africa, in Australia.
Wow.
Nighttime, who knows what time. Britain, of course. So it's really, the time might not mean anything because people might be watching this show with different time zones. But in LA, it'll start at 1:30. And so these are not actual panels like, we're all sitting at a table. These are, everyone's giving an hour presentation, about 45 minutes with questions. So it'll be Paola Harris, investigator from Italy, but she's international investigator and journalist. And Nick Pope, you might be familiar with.
Love Nick.
He's from the MOD in England, and he was receiving reports about UFOs at the UFO desk at the MOD. And my husband, Douglas Taylor, who is a contactee, and some people are familiar with his amazing art that he started to paint after he's had his first contact with extraterrestrials. He'll be talking about that and the exoplanets and what they might be like and who might be living on the exoplanets. And then, of course, Linda Moulton Howe.
Love her.
And we're so happy that Linda has agreed to do 3 different segments. She'll do this segment that we're talking about, and she'll be talking about different kinds of extraterrestrials, the Ebens mostly on this particular segment. And she will talk about the military have told her about the Ebens and how their minds are so incredible. And so that will be on that. And then I also have produced the whole Channel 1. So when someone goes to consciouslifeexpo.com, you can see 2021 schedule,
right.
And you'll see it's 2 different channels, and the whole Channel 1 is mostly things to do with extraterrestrials, paranormal, and ancient aliens. And of course, we start the whole thing on Friday, just as we usually do at the Expo in person, with Ancient Mysteries Revealed.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be great.
Yeah. Jason Martell, Billy Carson, William Henry. So that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, you guys always have a great lineup. And if I mean, because of COVID, but if you haven't been before, if hopefully next year it's going to be back at the LAX
We
Hilton.
hope so, yeah.
But you should go because you get to see all these amazing speakers and panelists, telling their studies, and from all different types of genres and walks of life, and it's a great time and great energy, but this year's different, but you can still watch it online. And so, can
Yeah.
people participate in it? I mean, do they?
Yeah. Well, we haven't fixed up yet live questions. I am receiving questions to ask my speakers. We will have questions from the host.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy Church, yeah, Jimmy Church will ask them. But if you're asking about the audience,
right, audience participation.
We haven't so far fixed that up, but it will be great.
Yeah.
But we will, you can let the host know or let us know if you have a particular question. And I will be asking my speakers questions, and for each of the segments, the keynotes are a little different, and they are standalone. They're usually 1.5 hours, or maybe a little less, 1 hour 15 minutes. But there's keynotes as well, and I have Whitley Strieber on Sunday.
That's going to be
and
great.
That's so great. Oh, and I can announce something.
Oh,
that
exclusive.
We have confirmed. Yeah, it is actually. And we just confirmed Stephen Greer for Sunday morning.
Oh my gosh! Wow, yeah. That's a big one. That's a big get.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Congratulations.
So great.
Well, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say the whole conference is sandwiched between an incredible event at the Giza pyramids, at the pyramids in Giza, by Tracy Ash. So she is going to bring, it's like a cosmic sandwich. She is going to be, first of all, greeting everyone from Italy, opening the portal at the pyramid. And then when it starts, and then when it finishes, also closing the portal at the pyramids. And that will be free to everyone. There's different kinds of tickets, but you can get that part is free. And so is the meditation as well on the evening global meditation, things like that.
Well, I want to go back a little bit and ask a little bit about your past. First of all, it says that you're a UFO expert, which we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But it also says that you're a intuitive Vedic. Is it Vedic or Vedic? Vedic astrologer. What is that? For the people.
Well, there's many different kinds of astrology in the world, and Vedic is from the ancient Vedas of India. A lot of people are familiar with the Ayurveda, which is the medicine,
right?
And it works. You'll find it works. So that's one of the Vedas. There's so much knowledge. Veda really means wisdom, knowledge.
Oh, okay.
And then Jyotirveda, which is to do with the astrology, and it's so incredibly accurate and interesting. It's sidereal astrology, which a lot of the world uses sidereal astrology. It's the 6 stars. We go by the 6 stars. So there's just a difference between Vedic or sidereal to the tropical or the Western astrology by 23 degrees now, because of the recessions and equinoxes. So that's why some people find they're a different sign, or they have a different moon sign,
right.
or so on. But it's incredible, and we use so many different things, different ways to understand what's going on. There's various time periods that we have. When we know our birth time, we will know what period we're in, which is they're called dashas, major periods, and bhuktis, which are minor periods. And so there's a background of energy of a planet helping you at different times. So say you're in a period of Mercury, you might be doing a lot of communication, a lot of traveling.
Mercury, we're in Mercury right now.
No, but actually, I mean, by birth, everyone has a different, we're in Mercury retrograde now, everyone. But so there's different periods we go in, we look at that. We have 27 constellations to look at, as well as the 12 signs. So it can be very detailed and interesting for people. And I like to choose to help people also with timing like for instance, the Expo, we actually changed the date, and one of the reasons was astrology. Another reason was we were hoping the Hilton would be open to do it in person,
Right, right.
and it isn't. So we suddenly made the change. But really, the first date we had, just to give you an example of astrology or Vedic astrology, was earlier. It was the 6th, and it was less likely that people would be coming out because the moon, which is the public, and how we feel, like
Mm-hmm.
the kind of emotions, the moon was debilitated on that day, and it was with Ketu, the south node, and Mercury was retrograde. So, and it was waning. I mean, like it was a dark moon. It was waning. The whole thing was really a difficult day. So I said, well, let's do the 20th, and that's when Mercury goes direct.
Right.
But plus exalted moon, the moon will be exalted. Does that every month, of course, but in Taurus, Vedic in Taurus, and then Jupiter's aspecting the moon. So people may be more positive and uplifting, and then also an interesting thing is happening, and it's already happening right now, but gets stronger then. Um, Jupiter is aspecting in a good way. It's always good when it's Jupiter anyway, but it's aspecting Rahu, or the North Node, and that is when the Russian flu ended.
Oh,
And so,
really?
yes, and so this is actually not my research. It's actually a great Vedic astrologer named James Kelleher.
Right.
He does all that kind of research, and he knew about the virus in advance because of studying these other virus times.
Right.
And so he said that, because a lot of this was showing by the nodes, by Rahu and Ketu and what they were doing. So it was really interesting that, we're not saying it's going to disappear then, but the fact there's a big step forward with problems with health when Jupiter comes into an exact aspect like that to the nodes. And so, yeah, that's what's happening on the 20th too. And like I said, it's already happening because it's abroad, we look at the broad base there, but it's more promising. So that day is great. And I was thinking about that second part of February as being so much better than what we've been going through astrologically in 2020. So many aspects, so many difficult retrogrades, so many, conjunctions. Even Mars went retrograde, which is, always difficult on top
Right.
of everything else.
Right.
And so, and then it was just with Uranus. So now that's finished. So we're really glad that, yeah, things are getting better, and this year is going to be better. It's just a gradual process.
Right. And I appreciate you going through that, because a lot of people that hear astrology and then they hear, different types of astrology, and they're like, what is the difference? And that's a great example of what,
Yeah,
how that is different from
and
each
it
other.
all works too. All kinds of astrology work. I mean, I like Chinese. I haven't studied it, but it always makes sense to me as well. And of course, tropical. So, and the thing is, the difference between tropical and Vedic, if something is happening, if Venus is on your moon, it's on your moon anyway. It
Right.
just might be that the moon's in a different sign than you thought it was,
Right.
or Venus is in a different sign. So, yeah, it's very much the same as well. But I think there's some other things we look at that help very much in Vedic.
Can I ask you this, with Vedic astrology, have you noticed that you can almost predict UFO sightings? Is there certain types of using astrology to kind of know when there's going to be more sightings of UFOs?
That's interesting. I haven't really thought about when there is going to be more,
Mm-hmm.
but there was something. I had worked it out back when I was in, I think it was 97. It was way back when I was in England. And there was, I'm just guessing at the date. I think it was that date. I was in the crop circle areas. Some people will be familiar with those.
Right.
And I used to go every year. And I had predicted something because of, I think it was Jupiter and Uranus, and I think it was being joined by the moon. I'm kind of guessing the year. But it was so interesting because what happened was that was the year an incredibly big crop circle appeared, but also people saw, or one particular person saw these three beings that were was started off being in a sort of a orb,
Hmm.
three orbs, and then they grew arms and legs from the orb, and they were going down to the ground, and he felt very uplifted by them, but he couldn't really connect with them. And then they went, after a while, they went back into the three orbs, and then other people saw those three orbs.
Oh, wow.
But that was so interesting, and that happened. And I remember I was there, but I've always get tired earlier than a lot of people, and so I had gone.
Me too.
It was at midnight. I know we'd gone to a talk, and then we had come back. Thought, let's look at the crop circle area, and they thought, oh, really getting tired now. I have to go back. And I missed it, But anyway, that was one thing. But yes, on people's charts, that's another thing. I have noticed something connected with their charts when they're likely to have, especially the people who have a lot of contact or even abductions.
I was going to ask about the abductions, if their charts, how they.
And the interesting thing is, some of the people who have abductions were born on an eclipse.
Oh, really?
And, yeah,
huh.
Yeah. And also whether it was the sun or the moon. And then sometimes when there is another eclipse, they've had the same thing happen. They've had an abduction. Each time not each time there's an eclipse, but I've noticed that. So that's really interesting as well.
That is interesting.
Yeah, and I know when my husband had his, he couldn't remember the exact date. Well, the really big one, he's had ongoing, like me, we've had ongoing experiences. But the really big experience he had towards the beginning when he was 28, I think it was the planet Uranus was traveling through a lot of his planets. But I can't remember now, but it was really interesting because I think Uranus might have something to do with the advanced ETs, and Venus, that like the ones we call the Nordics.
Right. Well, when you had your encounters, did you get to see the actual? Was it the ship or was it actual beings?
Well, I have seen the times that I've seen UFOs were in the sky. I haven't seen beings, but I've seen UFOs. Well, definitely 3 times, maybe more. There's other times we thought it could be one.
Right.
And those were in the daytime. But all my life, I have had dream experiences. So that we're going to a class. It's like a school. And when I was little, I didn't know anything about UFOs or anything. I was just getting, and I might have said this before on your show way back, I can't remember, but it's really the very beginning of this kind of interest, because sometimes I would go to sleep and not see the ceiling, and like I would just be in that hypnagogic state between being awake and sleeping.
Right.
And then I would see the sky and planets, just like my husband's paintings, that he might draw a planet close up. That's what it was like, a few planets, and they look close up. But the depth of the sky was so obvious to me. It was almost like I could fall into it, but I wasn't scared because that was a dream. And when you're in a dream, well, like a dream state, you don't get so scared of those things. And I was thinking, it reminded me, and this is probably why I had that kind of lesson education, because I used to look in the pond all the time and collect little larvae that lived in there and study them. And I loved looking in the pond. So when I was looking in the sky in those experiences, it was like a deep pond. And then I would see craft going back and forth, and beings that were alive that would travel back and forth to the planets. And I really think that a lot of the UFOs are conscious in themselves. And this is something that's also in the Vedas. It also explains that too in various parts of the Vedas, that they can be living beings. And then when you look at the different research that David Adair has done, for instance, and how the UFO that he touched, or the UFO engine that he touched, had an effect when he felt fine. It was very calming. And when he was angry with them, with the people who were asking him questions, and he knew what they were really, that he knew that they knew it was a UFO, and he got kind of annoyed about that. So then the skin of the engine was very agitated. So it was like it was conscious, and he would say that he felt like it was symbiotic, and it had its own, it was alive. And he told me that way back in about 1990, and of course we have kept in touch since then. But that's what I really believe, that a lot of the advanced craft are living, and whether they're made of a crystalline material, some of them, and also they could be made of other kinds of natural fibers,
right,
but then have some kind of soul or connection with the pilot. And there's stories in the Vedas, like the Kardama Muni, when he imagined, in a way, he was thinking that he was imagining, if only I could take my wife to see around the universe, if I had a Vimana, and only usually the higher up planets had them, but one appeared. He was describing it. He was thinking in his mind, it would be like this, it would be like that. It would have animals and birds and furniture. And then it manifested in front of him, and he was astonished. It actually uses that word in the Vedas, that Kardama Muni was astonished to see it. And he wasn't thinking in a materialistic way. He was thinking out of love. So that's why it came, because he was very selfless. And that it was connected to him in consciousness. So I think that science and consciousness, that connection, is important in understanding UFOs. And in fact, that reminds me, we have a segment. we have a segment at the Expo called Science and Consciousness, and that's going to be really interesting. Not necessarily about UFOs, but just about, you can prove scientifically that consciousness exists. And,
right.
And yeah.
Well, have you ever worked with anybody that's been abducted, that through meditation or any other form, that finally revealed to you or to others that what really happened? Because like my sister, when we were kids, she's about 8 years older than I am, we all saw a UFO. Like my mom, my sisters, my brother, and myself, we were out in the country, and I mean, I was really young, so I don't really remember it, but they all do. Because they were older. But later, my sister, like, just recently told me, she said, yeah, she said when she went back, we got back home, she went to sleep, and she said she had these crazy dreams, but when she woke up, she goes, my socks were completely soaked like I had been outside. And she said, but I don't remember anything. And she says, I remember, in the dreams of aliens, and I thought, I wonder if she was abducted at the time. Have you ever worked with people that have been abducted and realized through working with them?
Clients who are both abducted, and also, because obviously I meet lots of people in the
right.
So I do have clients, and also who have had contact or uplifting experiences,
right,
not just the kind of scary ones. And I do think that is true. Yeah, there's often evidence like that, like wet socks, or they could have, there's different events where people have done different things. They have mud on their feet, or they grab some leaves, and it's in their hands. Things like that they know, and also even the in the room, there might be something where they walked across the room, or even the ETs did, or the ET's handprint on something.
Right.
But usually, I don't regress people, because that's that's something that Barbara Lamb does, or Yvonne Smith. The regressions to understand more of their extraterrestrial experiences. So I would recommend people go to them for understanding that, because very often under hypnosis you can remember what you missed, what you didn't, what you can't pick up just with the regular thinking, trying to remember. It doesn't come back, but regression, it does very often come back.
Right.
And the positive ones, I think sometimes we can't remember all those. I mean, I've had some where I've learned things. I knew that I was in class learning, but I didn't remember everything. But I think it comes out when maybe I'm doing a reading or when I'm helping someone. Suddenly I'll bring through some piece of information, think, oh, that's funny. I wonder where I got that from. It could be something. I think a lot of us do that. There's places in the spiritual plane or the etheric plane where we learn from, and they could be ETs, there could be angelic beings. They're great teachers.
Right.
The times that I remember them, I never see their faces. I know they're in robes, and it's funny. I don't remember staring at the face. They usually give us some kind of hologram to look at, and there was one where I was looking at blood cells, and they were moving, and it actually doesn't seem to be a screen, but it's there. It's like a screen, and that they were saying in your head, because they kind of it's like your own thoughts, that look how healthy they get if you have a little raw food every day. And that got me started on making juice. At least every other day I make juice. But yeah, the blood was kind of, small, the cells, and then they plumped up and they were looking really healthy. And they said, just so that, and it was really the teachings, well, you don't have to be extreme. Just try this little fresh juice. And this is what happened to your blood. So that was one of the classes, that things like that happen, and it's just amazing. And so yeah, sometimes I remember them, sometimes I don't. But I think I've met a lot of people who have similar experiences, and they call it the learning place, or the place of learning, or something like that.
It is fascinating to hear the different types of abductions and different types of people that experiences UFOs and encounters. Like I said, for me, my mom said I was yelling out, "Take me with you," or I want to go, I want to go.
Yeah.
And I was like 7 years old, I think, at the time. So like I said, my memory of it is pretty much non-existent. But like I said, with my sister and them, and it's funny that's the first time. I'm 51 now, and it's like crazy to think that all these years she never even told me that happened.
Oh yes, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And then you started on doing a show like this. That is so incredible.
Yeah, no, I started, before,
Yeah.
and like I said, UFOs always have fascinated me, and I people that say, "Oh, there's nothing out there," I'm like, come on, you can't say that we're the only speck in the universe that has life on it, because we're just a speck of a speck of a speck of a speck.
Yeah. No, and I think we're pretty low on the evolutionary scale.
Pretty much.
Because we still have war and things like that, and yeah, people on the higher advanced beings don't. Actually, my husband asked the same thing to the ETs that he saw, the 7 ETs that were like Nordic types. He said, "Can't you take me with you? I want to go with you."
Right.
And they said, well, "Not at this time."
Not at this time. That sounds like my parents. That's not at this time. You can't go. You're not tall enough for this ride right now. Well, do you mind me asking you a question from the chat room?
Yeah.
And if you can answer it, great. If not, we'll just say, we'll move on. But Karen Ann in the chat room says, "What does Serena know of the Andromeda Council?"
Andromeda.
Oh, is that? Now I feel like an idiot. But yeah, Andromeda.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what kind of ETs come from there or anything. Yeah, I don't suppose I know more than she does, really. I know some people. I used to know a lady who said she was from Andromeda. She was very intellectual, very advanced mind. But yeah, I don't think I can describe what it's like there or anything like that. That's what she meant. I don't know. A lot of the Vedas describe different planets, but they have different names for them. So we don't, I don't even know if there's Andromeda described in the Vedas under a different name.
Well, like you said, if everybody's just tuning in, or some people tuning in, this is Serena Wright Taylor. She is a UFO researcher, award-winning conference producer, and she is going to be part of the Conscious Life Expo coming up on February 19th through the 21st. It's all online this year, which is so. If you don't want to, they're like, oh, I didn't want to buy that plane ticket anyway. Well, you don't have to. You can get the tickets at consciouslifeexpo.com. There's a lot of amazing people going to be. I mean, there's always amazing people. And so, Linda Moulton Howe and Jimmy Church, if you know Jimmy Church, the other radio host, Billy Carson, William Henry, Whitley Strieber. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So you can get tickets there and go through and, watch some of these amazing people do their years of research and explain everything to you guys. And Serena's going to be hosting a panel on Saturday, the 20th, right?
Yes.
From 1:30 to 5:30. And so, get your tickets and be a part of it. But Serena, I want to ask, what we on the website, it talks about walk-ins, hybrids. Have you ever met a hybrid? Because there's a lot of people that, there's a lot of people that go, I think I'm a hybrid. But sometimes it's like, how do you tell someone is a hybrid, or if they just, it's kind of like when you go to people like, oh, I went to a psychic and 15 people said I was Cleopatra in one of my past lives. And so how do we know that there's when we run into a hybrid, or how if you're a hybrid, and what was your encounters like?
I've met a few hybrids, I think. When I think about it, that some of them look completely normal, but they have an amazing story about how they were born and their parents had, or their mother had ET experiences. I know someone like that. And then also I've met a couple of hybrids. In fact, that I for sure know, because one thing that happened, actually, Barbara Lamb was speaking, and
I love Barbara.
You're familiar with Barbara, I think a lot of listeners are. And I was at a table, and I had one of my some of my postcards on the table, and a girl came and said, "Oh, do you do readings for hybrids?" And I said, "Oh, everyone, yeah, I can help you with that." And I looked at her, and it was amazing. She had a pointed chin. I have never seen a pointed chin like that. And she was beautiful looking. But it's just that it was so unusual, and a wide face with a pointed chin that you just don't see. And then also what was interesting is it was a very cold day, and it was at MUFON. And there was the door was open, and the wind was coming in a bit, and it was, people had their coats on, but she didn't have a coat on. She had very short sleeved or no sleeves on her dress. She didn't seem cold at all. So I was thinking, oh, I think she spoke to Barbara Lamb, of course. But yeah, that was so interesting to see someone who looked a little different. But otherwise, I have met people who are very convinced that they are hybrids, and they probably, kind of look the same as everyone else.
Right. Because I've heard that, from several people. I mean, I believe in hybrids. I believe that there are, just like any animal or any species on this planet has somehow intertwined at one time or the other. So I definitely believe. And why do you think there are hybrids? Why do you think extraterrestrials would even intertwine with human species?
Well, there's different kinds of experiences from different people. I haven't had an ET tell me anything
Directly.
about that, but when they have spoken themselves with other, telepathically, the ETs have told them that they're helping them because they cannot reproduce anymore on their planet, and they had to leave their planet, and so, and they're also, they want to be able to live here. And so, there's various accounts like that. So I can't say for sure, but that could be.
Why do you think, when you, like you said, they can't live on their planet or reproduce in their planet? You would think they're so far advanced that they would be able to figure out why they could reproduce, and why, after millions of years and hundreds of thousands of years of coming to this planet, where you would think, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, by them intertwining with, Egypt and other civilizations, why would they just decide to go, oh, we're going to not reveal ourselves to these modern folks, where you would think we would be more open to their species than somebody of 10,000 years ago?
Yeah, well, we're talking about one kind here. We're talking about the greys, aren't we?
Right.
And of course, there's different kinds of greys also. There's some that seem very robotic, like they're AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some that seem to be, like I was saying, the ones that Linda's going to talk about, the Ebens, who are very wise and ancient and don't, as they know, don't harm people. But there's different ideas about this, about why they need to make hybrids. And one of the stories is because they destroyed their own planet. They messed up on their own planet.
Oh.
And they couldn't live there, and they had to go underground. And so then that's why they have the big eyes that are like eyes that would see at night, night vision. So that's one possibility, but we don't know for sure. So I'm kind of speculating here. But I think that that's particular one kind of ET. But then the other kinds of ETs, people think of them, they might be a hybrid of a more advanced human-looking ET.
Right.
And that's a different thing. They might have come here to give some knowledge and to share and so on, and to help, and it really, it says in the Vedas, some people can choose to be born in certain lives. It's very advanced, good karma to be able to choose your life. But otherwise, you get your life because of your desire and because of your karma.
So I love that.
A mixture of the two.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning past lives, so that's a little different from a past life. Yeah, we could have had a past life on a planet and then come here and not actually be a hybrid, but have memories in our head of, somewhere that past life in our DNA, so to speak. But of course, yeah, we have a lot of past lives on this planet too.
Yeah, I remember getting a reading years ago with Sylvia Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to get a reading from her in the 1995, 6, something like that. So, and she told me I've had many past lives. And, back then I was just starting to really get into the spirituality, growing up in Kansas where, it's the Bible Belt. So you didn't really get to hear the spiritual side, but you got to hear the religious side normally. But yeah, she said I was mostly religious leaders or religious men. She said I was a priests and reverends and ministers, and many times in my past lives. And then because I was asking her, I was like, what? I have this back problem. I go to the doctor and nobody will tell me why. And they just say, oh, we don't see anything. And she said, well, you were shot in the back as a soldier. And that's why you don't like violence. You don't like, confrontation, which I don't. Unless you call my mama something. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. And so I find past lives very fascinating just because, and I find them fascinating when, you get these 3-year-old kids naming names and saying what they did in their past life, and then they do a research and find out that's that freaks me out.
Yeah, and that makes sense with you because you're bringing through wisdom now. You share wisdom, and you did in past lives as a priest or something. That's the way you could share wisdom. That's interesting.
Yeah. And do you think through meditation, because I know you said you do meditation, do you teach meditation or do you just meditate?
I meditate, but mostly with movement, because it's together, especially in one of their own signs. Supposed to be active a lot, and I like to, and in fact I did that today. And I go into this mode of, I dance and go into this mode of meditation. It's hard to explain. But yeah, a lot of things meditation. You can go into meditation when you're driving, but it's not a good idea for long. But we do, we do dishes, we go into meditation. I do a lot of gardening. I don't really teach it so much, but when someone has a reading, sometimes I help people clear their auras, because sometimes we take on so much energy from whether it's other people or the
Right.
world or something, you know, and it gets into our chakras,
Mhm.
and it's like there's holes in our aura, and this of course can cause illness or depression. So I might, you know, help if a person, if it looks like from their chart and from their questions that they might want to learn how to do that. It's really easy. I just let them know how to do it. You don't have to pay and have it done. It's something that everyone can do, that kind of meditation, pulling out cords, really, you
Hmm.
know, from each of the
Right.
chakras, and then surrounding yourself with light, which is really important at the end, the beginning and the end, putting grounding cord down. So it's a very simple meditation. But yeah, that helps, and I often do that myself if I feel like I've got lots of energy on me from all the clients and all the things, you know. It's good to do that.
Well, before we get out of here, we have just a few more minutes. Is there something that we can do at home for that type of meditation of, and even helping clean up or help fix our auras? Because I
Well,
never really, you know, like I said, I remember getting my aura read at Conscious Life Expo, and I can't remember exactly what it was. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad,
yeah, that's
but
so interesting. I love that. Those kind of photography where they
yes.
see the, yes, that's great.
So, what can somebody do at home that maybe you can just give like a minute or two of what somebody can do at home to help clean their chakra to help? Because right now, I'm sure there's a lot of people that need cleansing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it's like the one I started to explain. I didn't know if you wanted me to go
Yeah,
through the whole.
please, please.
Yeah. So the way I do it, and this is the way lots of people do it, and it might be something that, you know, some people who are listening already do. But first of all, I start by putting down a grounding cord. So we all, I imagine it as being brown, like a root of a tree,
Right.
and this really grounds us into the earth. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a building or on the ground, because that was always what I used to think about when I learned it. And then I just cleanse my whole body with light.
Hmm.
So, you know, you see the light, you've got the grounding cord on, you see the light coming into your head, in your mind. You know, you can have your eyes closed and
Right.
you can see this coming in your mind. But when we do that, we visualize it's happening. And it runs through our whole body, these wonderful light particles, and you just see them washing through your body, out your toes and out your fingertips. And then you're very cleansed of the negative stuff. And then I go through each chakra, and I start at the lower chakra and go to the top. And I use my hands and actually pull cords out. And don't worry whether you can see them or not. Think, am I doing this right? Believe me, it works. I've done it. Well, once I was pulling some cords out myself, and my friend who is expert at this, she came in to do it, and she said, "You're very clear." she said, I said yes, but I didn't tell her I did it. I thought I wasn't doing it right. That was years ago when I first learned. So you go through each chakra, and if you like, you can see the color of each chakra, and throw the cords. Now, what I do with the cords in my mind is I throw them into the flame of Saint Germain on one side, and because that is a way to it can transmute the energy, and you're not harming anyone. That's another thing. Not throwing someone in the fire. They're just
Right.
a cord. It's not, nothing's happening to any people. So you throw that, and then after you've gone through each, even to the top of your head, and thrown the cords out, then you bring in, like I said, bring in the light again, and then surround yourself with light in your mind.
Oh, wow.
So, and think of it as an orb. So include under you and over you. And then you'll have that light all around you. And then if you have to be somewhere where there's a lot of negative things, or, you know, if you're at work or something in person eventually, and you feel like people are arguing, or, you know, you can just think about that beautiful ball of light and put yourself in it. And that doesn't mean you can't connect with people. It just means you won't take on those cords, any more of those cords
Right.
that
Right.
have nothing to do with you, you know, at all, you know. And so that's why I find that's really helpful. then you're with your own energy and not bringing other people's energy. So that's one really good way of doing the clearing your chakras.
I love it. Well, I mean, unfortunately, our time is pretty much up, but Serena, I thank you so much. And Serena's, again, can you tell us what you're going to be doing this next week? I can't believe it's next week.
Oh, next week is incredible. Yes, at Conscious Life Expo, go to consciouslifeexpo.com and look at the schedule, look at the speakers, and you can click the photos and see what they're doing. And you can get your tickets there, consciouslifeexpo.com.
And I have to say, I've been almost every year for quite a while, and I've had the best time. And I got to meet some amazing people, and some of the people you don't think you'll ever get to meet are there. You know, the ancient alien people, they've had a segment there, and, you know, Jimmy Church and all these people that are, you know, bringing you the latest. And like I said, I've had a great time. But also, don't forget, you know, if you're in the Boston area, Truth Be Told is now on WCRN TV 31 in Boston. So we appreciate them for picking up Truth Be Told and sharing it with the locals there. And I heard they're going to be putting it on some other TV stations around the country, which I'm very happy about. And then also, don't forget to check out every Monday morning, the Monday Morning Minuteman Report is just giving you a minute worth of topical news. And we're going to have some more stuff coming. We have a new segment for documentaries, movies, film, of anything paranormal. We have a segment coming out. Alexander Rodriguez is going to be presenting that. So keep an eye out for that. But Serena, thank you so much for always being amazing and coming back and seeing us.
See everyone next week at the Expo.
Yep, next week. I'm Tony Sweet, and please subscribe to our channel. Share this with everybody. Go to truthbetoldworldwide.com. We have a lot of upcoming guests, some great shows coming up. We even have a vampire coming in studio. Ooh, I'm excited. Until next time, I'm Tony Sweet. Have a great week. Bye.